Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and today I'm bringing you a special Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD battle. This is actually a battle that features a brand new, never-before-seen faction. At least I don't think anyone has ever showcased this faction before. Slytacular, who is one of the main modders for Medieval Kingdoms 1212, he's actually approached me and allowed me early access to give this new faction a try, and I am super excited to show them to you. He's also added a few new units to some older factions as well, so they've expanded their rosters. Now, this battle is Tier 1 only, just because the brand new faction is actually Tier 1 balanced only, so he still has to work on the Tier 2 and the Tier 3 units. But, yeah, I'm so excited. I really appreciate you allowing me to showcase this faction, Sly, if you are watching. And without further ado, let's get to the army comps. The first army we're going to take a look at in today's battle is the Kingdom of Norway, and this is commanded by DeBoss 11111. And there's actually 3 Norwegian enemy armies, but we're going to take a look at the enemy armies first for a change. And DeBoss's army is in a nice, really easy line to look at, so that's why we're looking at his first. So he's got 2 units of these crossbow herdmen here. And then he has 3 units of the Guess, which is a very nice heavy bow infantry unit. It's a tier 1 unit, but as you can see, the skills are pretty solid. Looks like they are now able to form shield wall and stationary testudo and mobile testudo or attacking testudo. And I think that's something new. I don't think they were able to do that before. So this makes them very formidable archers as well as infantry units. And then right in behind that, we've got a couple units of the spear bondier, very cheap spears. And then he has a couple of candlemen as well, which again, tier 1, but little better stats. And then for his infantry, he's got a couple units of tablemen here. Actually, it looks like just 6 units of tablemen, but I think we've seen them before. But they are now able to form mobile testudo, stationary testudo, and shield wall. And they just look really, really nice. Norway is probably still one of my favorite Medieval Kingdoms factions. The only problem is that, like I said before, they're pretty tier 1 limited. They don't really have any good tier 2 or tier 3 infantry. But as far as the general goes, DeBoss, he's got King Ingus II of Norway. There he is with his blonde hair moving forwards. And then he has, I think, 1 unit of Hanseatic Lancers. Where are they? I think he's moving them up at the front here. Yeah, he's got a unit of Hanseatic Lancers here. And then he's got a couple units of these Ritter, which are just an early heavy shock cavalry unit. But that's pretty much it for DeBoss's army, so let's go ahead and take a look at the second army. The second army in today's battle is also the Kingdom of Norway, and this is commanded by Slytacular. He is one of the modders for 1212, and he's also the creator of Norway and Sweden, I believe is what he had said. But he's going with a very archer-focused army, because there was really no rules. We kind of just said, you know, no spamming and such. But he's got 3 units of the Guests, which we've seen before, very, very elite. Then he's got a couple units of the Orkney Islanders, and then 2 units of these Longbow Bondier, and then his general is also a guest unit. And there he is. That's, looks like King Ingus's the second's twin brother. So he's hiding in the trees there with a massive axe. Looks really cool. And then he has 4 units of the Spear Bondier, so going with the cheaper spears as opposed to the Candlemen. And then he is bringing 2 units of Tablemen on the flanks, and then 4 units of Herdmen. And this is something new for Norway, I believe. Sweden was able to field Herdmen, but none of the other Scandinavian factions were. But now the Herdmen are on Norway's roster. It kind of gives them some more Tier 1 infantry to bring. But as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, the Herdmen have been given stationary testudo, attacking testudo, or mobile testudo, and shield, I think shield wall they may have already had, but square formation might be new. So a lot of new factions added for these tier 1 units. And then he's only got 2 units of Cav, he's got 2 units of the Ritter, he's got 1 on either flank. And that is pretty much it for his force, so let's go ahead and take a look at the last enemy. The final attacking army moving up from the right-hand side in the trees here is also the Kingdom of Norway, and this is commanded by Celticus Magnus. And he's got a more rounded army than Slytacular does. Not as many archers. He's bringing some more infantry instead. But he's got a couple units of these longbow bondir on the left flank. Looks like 3 units of them. And then he has 2 units of the Orkney Islanders, which is a little bit better armor and I think melee defense than the longbow bondir, but less range. And then he's bringing 2 units of the Candlemen, which we have seen before. So there they are there. And then I think he's bringing... I thought he was bringing... Oh, correction. I'm sorry. So he's bringing 4 units of Candlemen. I thought he had a split of 2 Candlemen and 2 Spear Bondir, but he's got 4 units of the Candlemen. And then he's bringing 4 units of the Herdmen. And then on the other flank, he's got 4 units of the Tablemen, which are moving forwards. I believe that these Tablemen also were not able to form square, mobile testudo, and stationary testudo, but they are able to do so now. So these makes them much more formidable opponents on the battlefield than they used to be. And then he's got some cav over here as well. He's got some Knecht, I think 2 units. So there's the second unit moving over to the flank. And we've also got King Ingus II of Norway as well. So we've got the triplets, the Ingus triplets fighting on the battlefield today. Looking very glorious. One choosing to fight on foot, one choosing to fight without a crown, and then this one's just going all out. So that's it for the 3 attacking armies. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other side. The first army that's opposing the 3 armies of Norway today is the Kingdom of Sweden, and this is commanded by Hamdog CDXX. And the Kingdom of Sweden has long been known to have a really underpowered roster, so I think that's why it's been reworked a little bit. So they've got some upgrades to their cavalry, and Hamdog CDXX, he is bringing a healthy amount of them. Let me see, I think it's 4 units, yes it is, of this Fraus unit. And just look at the color scheme. Like, these guys look beautiful. So they're a heavy shock cavalry. They've got good speed, excellent armor, and excellent charge bonus. So he's got 4 units of them. And you can see he's moving forwards the rest of his forces here. So he's got a couple units of Atgir Bondir, which we've seen before. But I'm not sure if these guys are new or not, but he's got some crossbow herdmen, 2 units of them. So same as the infantry herdmen, but just obviously crossbows. But look at all of the formations they can do as well. All of the same formations, so this basically makes this archer unit almost invaluable in melee. Now, I think he's following it up with some herdmen. The name cards are missing, but they will obviously be added in. But I'm just kind of curious to see. So, melee attack 30, 32, 55, 40. And then 40, or what's the... So morale 30, 32, 30, 32... 55-40. So check this out, guys. These herdmen here have the exact same stats as the crossbow herdmen. So maybe better to bring more crossbows than the actual infantry. I'm not sure. Like I said, this is pretty early stages. Sly, he still said he had a lot of work to do, but I guess that would make sense since they're herdmen. Basically, all they're doing is holding a crossbow, but that kind of makes them more valuable than the original herdmen if they can fight just as well in melee. But yeah, he does have a couple of these herdmen here, and then there's some of these footfraus. I think that's how you pronounce it, fraus, footfraus. But they're a Huskarl unit, heavy melee infantry. Looking really awesome. Then he's got some of these Heisling Hunters, 2 units of them. Excellent rate of fire and good range. There's some more of the footfraus. And then this is a new unit for Sweden, I believe. They're able to draw upon sergeants now. So these are almost like bill sergeants. Very poor missile block. I think it's actually... Oh, it's 10. I thought it was 0. But could be good to use in maybe pressing on the flanks or something of that nature. But I think that's all for the Kingdom of Sweden. So very nice expansive roster. They're a really, really nice faction, really colorful. And let's go ahead and take a look at the next army. The second army that's opposing the Norwegians is another Kingdom of Sweden army, and this is commanded by Hohenmaster. And he's bringing a little bit different of a cavalry force, but most of the infantry is the same. He's actually bringing 4 units of these Ven unit, and these are a medium shock cav, but they've got a lot more speed. They are very quick. If you take a look at the stats, 130 for the speed. And their charge bonus has been upped, I think, to 60, which is really solid, especially for a 12-12 cavalry unit. You typically see shock cav with a charge bonus of about 30. And then he has King Eric over here. So Sweden has gotten some new generals added. So there's King Eric. And I forgot to mention Hamdog CDXX's general is actually named Burger Jarl, which is very, very funny, but probably accurate. And like I said, he's bringing 4 units of these Footfraus. It's pretty much the same as Hamdog's force. He's actually got 6 units of the Herdman, and he has 6 units of the Crossbow Herdman. And that pretty much rounds out his entire force, basically. Yeah, the Kingdom of Sweden, they just were lacking a little bit of diversity in their infantry and in their cavalry. And with there only being 1 general before, it was pretty linear, so that's why a lot of people chose not to play as them. But having a little more color like this and a couple more units to be able to put onto the battlefield, it makes them much more enjoyable to play. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for, the final army that's opposing the Norwegians. The final opposing army to the Norwegian presence on the battlefield is this brand new faction, the Gurid Sultanate. They are kind of descendants of the Persian Empire. The Persian was their main language, but they mostly held their empire in modern-day Iran. But it's really nice to see that there's some more... It's nice to see that there's more Eastern factions to be able to add to the roster, because a lot of the medieval games kind of forget about the Eastern side, and they focus really heavily on the Western factions, such as England and France and the Holy Roman Empire. But there was a lot of rich diversity and color to these Eastern factions, as you can see from their units as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at their army pretty closely. So I brought kind of a mix of a bunch of units to show you guys. There's 2 units of these Afghan spearmen in the front, so they're pretty solid. Their stats aren't too crazy. Their missile block is pretty low as well, but then again, they have pretty small shields. However, I love the unit modeling and the color of the shields as well. It looks really, really nice. That really draws to an Eastern faction for me. So I've got 2 units of those. And then I have 2 units of these Nawak infantry. These are my crossbow infantry. 62 missile damage, 125 range, 20 ammunition, and a rate of fire of 16. So pretty standard for a tier 1 crossbow. And then if we zip over to the end here, where are you? Did I move you somewhere? There they are. That's what I was looking for. I brought a unit of naphtha throwers. Now, a lot of these units aren't exactly new to the game. They've just been ported over from other factions, such as the Ayyubid Sultanate, I believe, can field these naphtha throwers. But the rest of my ranged presence, I'm bringing 2 units of these Afghan archers. Looking really nice. And I love the detail on the flags, too, and such like that. That looks really nice. Really nice. So that's pretty much all that I brought for my archers. And the best infantry that I could bring is 6 units of these Gori infantry. And like I said, they are tier 1. They've got the same missile block as the Afghan spearmen, but they've got obviously better melee stats. And a speed of 35, so that's not bad for an infantry unit. And my pièce de résistance over here, I've got a unit of war elephants. Now, these war elephants have actually been upped in price. I think this one costs 1,685 gold. So I don't know if that's going to be the final price for these war elephants when the mod update is released. But I'd honestly think that that's a fair price to pay if you want to field elephants on the battlefield. Maybe even 2k for the tier 3 war elephants would be appropriate. But yeah, look at that health, 1610. That is insane. Melee damage of 150, charge bonus 250. So really dangerous on the battlefield. And then for my cavalry, I've got 4 units of these Gulaman-i Sultan. They are a heavy shock cavalry unit. They're obviously tier 1, but look at the colors on these units. Really, really nice detail. And I love how a lot of the shock cav has like the completely enclosed masks, which looks really sweet. Very formidable opponents on the battlefield. I would be very afraid to fight against these guys. And the last thing I have to show you is my general. And I'm not sure. I think I would imagine this is my general here because he has the plume. And this is Taj ad-Din Yediz, I believe is how you would say it. But he is a heavy melee cav general. But he's got some pretty good speed. It's at 70. Health is 140, so that's quite high. But the other stats are pretty decent. But you can see that the charge bonus has been upped to 50. So like I said, I think that the standard charge bonus for shock cavalry was between 30 and 34. So it looks like a lot of the stats are being worked for those of you guys that found that was something that you needed to be worried over. But without further ado, let's take a look at the actual battle. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield here, and as you can see, the Norwegians being very aggressive in taking this massive mountain that's in the center of our 2 deployment areas. DeBoss 11111, he does have some tablemen here, but they are being kind of peppered down by the crossbow herdman of Sweden that's just on the other side of the mountain. So it looks like DeBoss is going to move his cavalry down the mountain, and just take a look at this sunset here. That is gorgeous. It's probably nicer than some actual sunsets that I've seen in real life. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump out and take a look at the man count as well as the balance of power. So we actually have about 500 less men than they do, but the balance of power is a little bit in our favor, I would say. Now, DeBoss pushing really heavily on this flank here, but he's actually divided his army as well. A lot of these spear bondier and kennelmen in the front lines are actually DeBosses. Now, I see that, you know, we could probably hold pretty well in the center against Norway. So I'm going to send all of my 4 units of Gulaman-i Sultan. I'm going to send all 4 units over to challenge the Norwegian cavalry that has crested this hill here. The Frau's of Sweden are actually on this side as well. So with 8 units, we should overwhelm that side quite easily. Now looking at Hohenmaster, he's actually peeled off a little bit. And Celticus Magnus, he's peeled off at about a 35-degree angle to match him. Now, the problem with Hohenmaster's force is he can't afford to just sit here and do nothing. The reason for that being is that Celticus Magnus has longbow bondier. So the much superior range is going to kind of not allow Hohenmaster to just sit here for too long. However, take a look at this. This is awesome. I love this. These crossbow herdmen are in stationary testudo. That is amazing for crossbows. Really, really cool mechanic. I love to see that. It makes you have to think a lot more about what kind of armies you want to bring, too. Because if a lot of these archers are going to be so solid in melee, you may want to just bring them instead of the standard herdmen. Now, at the same time, people are going to have to be careful in land and siege battles because people are just going to spam out a bunch of the archers because they're just as solid. So maybe possibly putting a cap on them would be the best option. Now, we have these tablemen moving forwards. They are in shield wall, which is good to see, but it looks like the cavalry is starting to get targeted now. We got the Hanseatic Lancers moving in now. And is Sweden going to respond to that? He has some Fraus here. Or some Fraus. Not sure. Yes, it looks like he is going to respond, so I think we're going to have a really nice cavalry charge here. Sweden versus Norway. Beautiful charge. Sweden getting a little bit of a side charge in there, and a couple of the units running past, which will enable them to kind of flank around. However, it looks like we've got another unit of Norwegian cavalry was thinking about charging in. However, he's got to be very careful because my units of Gulaman-i Sultan, they're all on the flanks here. And this is a very, very heavy cavalry presence. Just, yeah, take a look at all this cavalry riding forwards. It looks like we got another unit of Ritter that's filtering in to rear charge the Swedish cavalry. But the other one is going after Hamdog's crossbows, actually getting a nice rear charge there. Now, he could have put them into stationary testudo because they're now able to do that, but it's kind of hard to remember those things, especially since this was literally our first battle. But the Ritter are causing some major problems for Hamdog CDXX. Luckily, he does have another unit of Frausts here and his sergeants to contend with the Norwegian cavalry. Now, let's kind of zoom out and take a look at what's going on over here. Oh, yes. Hohenmaster already charging into Celticus Magnus's lines. One of his units of Sven is breaking. The other units are having some difficulties just due to the fact that the Candlemen are present in this fight. Hohenmaster has actually gotten his cavalry locked in against spears, which is not the best. Now, these Candlemen, they are only tier 1. But at the same time, it looks like the longbow bombardier from Celticus Magnus are firing down from way behind enemy lines there. So that's going to be tough for Hohenmaster because he's actually losing a lot of his cavalry early on in the game. Only 7 minutes left in the battle. Let's go ahead and put this on pause for now because, yes, this is what I wanted to see. I've activated my heavy shock cavalry, and we are just destroying the resistance up here. A unit of Tablemen and a unit of Longbow Bombardier is broken. I think that this is one of Slytacular's Ritter that's trying to hold back my units. I've got another unit helping Hamdog's Frauss units against that unit of cavalry. This unit of Tablemen is broken to a good charge from the Frauss from the back. And we've got another unit charging in over here. So as you can see, this really good middle defense is actually starting to break apart a bit, which is what I wanted. My units of crossbows, my Nawak infantry, and my Afghan archers, they have begun to fire as well. But yeah, it's tough times over here for Norway. They're really going to have to send more troops to this flank if they're going to contain it. But you can clearly see the Eastern flag still flying, fighting the early period Ritter. Well, it looks like the Swedish cavalry is drawing back a bit. Yeah, I should be moving forwards my infantry very soon. I'm keeping an eye on Hohen's side as well, because it looks like he is trying to get his crossbow herdmen into range. Yeah, I am firing, I think, at these Candlemen, but it's really not going to do too much damage due to the fact that they are in spear wall. But I think DeVos, he's decided that he just wants to get into melee as quickly as possible, so he is cresting this hill. Here come my elephants, though. I've kind of activated them. I want them more onto the flanks. What I like to do is pin the units by having them charge into my infantry and then moving to the side with my elephants. And just kind of running right down the flank. So we've got a unit over here of Spear Bombardier. We've got a unit of Afghan Spearmen against some Spear Bombardier over here as well. But I really want to keep an eye on these elephants. They're also ranged elephants as well, so they've actually got some archers on top there. But here we go. Look at this line of archers here just mowing down my forces. Let's go ahead and jump into this cavalry unit here as we desperately try and charge into all of these units of archers that are Slytaculars. He's also activating his general there, you can see as well, so they're coming to charge in. There we go, getting a nice side charge on us, but my cavalry is just going to continue on with that charge through the trees and hit the Orkney Islanders, which is a weaker unit. The guests are kind of being pulled in, though, from the side, which is a little bit of a problem, but these Ven are here to... Sorry, not these Ven, the Frauss are here to help me. And my Gulaman y Sultan have broken a unit of longbow bombardier on this flank. I've got another unit coming around that has been freed up. Oh, but here we go. I'm missing it. Sorry, guys. 3 units of tablemen here fighting against some elephants. How terrifying would that be? And the lighting is a little bit peculiar just because of that sunset, so there is a lot of glistening there. But yeah, my elephants just trounce these 3 units of tablemen. Now, given they are only tier 1 infantry, right? So it's not like there's something that's super elite. But yeah, here I am trying to run them down the flanks to break more of the units. Come on, elephants. And then the bowmen at the top are just firing down, picking and choosing their targets as they see necessary. And what do we got going on over here? I've still got my NAFTA throwers. They haven't used up any of their ammo yet, and I'm pushing forwards my Afghan spearmen into melee to help Hohen Master, because a lot of his infantry is breaking over here to Celticus Magnus's herdmen. We actually have the general engaged in melee as well, running right through a lot of the herdmen. I don't know what he's trying to go for, but the longbow bombardier just firing arrows pretty much point blank into the general. So Celticus Magnus doing quite well over here. Got a couple units of the crossbow herdmen. They are in melee, unfortunately, even though they have full ammo. So we are losing on that side, but the balance of power is very with us, and the reason for that is just due to the shock cavalry over here running down the remainder of Slytacular's forces. He does have a couple units of spears, but it's not much that he can do against the overwhelming cavalry that we have on the flank. His general has come back from routing, but he is still wavering. And yeah, these elephants, up to 115 kills, so it's not anything crazy. But now they're going up against this unit of guests. And look at this guy here, fighting against a unit of archers. There you go. Slaughter them all for the glory of the Gurid Sultanate. Oh, I love when elephants are in battle. But what do I got going on this side? Yeah, I'm not even pushing any more troops over onto this side because Celticus Magnus has pretty much finished off all of Hohen Master's forces. So I'm just trying to reform my battle lines. If I hold down the HUD, you can see where I'm wanting to move my forces to kind of be able to get my archers and my crossbows to fire again. But yeah, that unit of guests is going to break soon. Looks like we've got Hamdog's general. There is the Burger Jarl finishing off the last of the guests over on this side and some of the crossbow herdmen. But yeah, we're pretty much just down to this now. And my NAFTA throwers, I haven't even used much of their ammo yet.
The enemy general is dead.
Huzzah, the enemy general is dead. Nice to hear. And there we go. I'm just focusing down a lot of these units here. They are going into Testudo to protect themselves, but look in the distance what's coming. Check this out. The elephants are on the horizon. Oh my goodness, that would be so scary. So he's got his four units here into a tiered defense, but unfortunately, these Testudos are not going to hold back the elephants. Let's take a look at this charge. Yeah, just running right through them. Not even slowing down as they move forwards. Just an utter slaughter. And look at that. All of these units starting to waver now. There goes the NAFTA pots as well being thrown in. Oh my goodness, that looks amazing. Look at the fire here. Oh my goodness. Utter chaos and destruction. A glorious victory for the Gurid Sultanate. So yeah, pretty OP, the elephants, but naturally they should be. But that's why I'm saying that maybe bumping them even up from 1685, I think that they were, to 2 grand would be appropriate. Because, yeah, they finished with 255 kills, which actually isn't as many as I thought. But, yeah, we're just basically finishing off the last of Celticus Magnus's forces. Let's get a slow-motion charge. I think a couple of the units are just clipping the sides there as they charge through. The Gulamani Sultan. I don't know exactly what that translates to, but I'd imagine that it translates to the Sultan's Gulam. Or maybe the Sultan's Horsemen or something. But yeah, see how they are exhausted. I don't know if it's reflective. It's not reflective yet on the actual unit stats, but because these units are exhausted, they should only have like 25% the melee attack and melee defense skill. But it is kind of end game. Let's get a nice zoom out. Oh, there we go. That's the end of the battle. And if you're wondering why there's a Roman sigil, that will be changing to the Gurid Sultanate's logo soon. Like I said, this is just early testing that we did. And Sly, thanks so much for allowing me the opportunity to showcase this faction. It was a really, really fun faction. So let's go ahead and take a look at the results here. Yeah, we just didn't have as many men, especially Hohen Mastery had a smaller army, so I think that's what accounted for the man count difference. But look at these kills here from the Gulaman Il Satan. 170, 161, 209, 236, 270 by the elephants. General's Bodyguard getting 120 kills. Even my gory infantry doing really solid there. Looking at Hohen Master, he suffered a little bit. His army kind of got pulled a little bit out of position. But 78 and 91 not bad for his herdmen. And his Footfraus, not very many kills. They kind of got shredded by missiles when they were trying to move into melee. I find that the Huskarls are much better for a flanking unit. But his Ven, some did pretty solid, and his crossbows average, I would say. For Hamdog CDXX's army, 132 with the Burger Jarl, so that he deserves a burger after that battle. And 137, 138, and 121. Very, very nice for the kills there. Looking at Slytacular's force, the Spear Bondier unfortunately didn't do very well, but that's to be expected. The Herdmen and the Tablemen would have done better, but I think they were just broken so quickly by the elephants. And really low kills by a lot of his archers, especially these guests here. That's all thanks to the Gulaman Il Sultan as well. Getting some really nice charges into them and breaking them early on. DeBoss's force, yeah, a lot of these tablemen, 0 kills, which is really sad to see. Most of them, again, getting charged down very early on in the game. And Celticus Magnus, I think he did the best out of all of them. Really solid kills all around, especially some of the tablemen getting 75 kills. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully you guys are excited to play as the Gurid Sultanate as well. There are, I think, quite a few more factions that will be coming out in the next update. So stay tuned. Hopefully I'll have some more content for you next week. Again, it's kind of up to Sly and the other modders what they're kind of finishing and what they feel is ready to release. But yeah, again, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.